Try to imagine a barren desert suddenly transforming into a capital of extreme luxury in record time. From a humble fishing village, this place has reinvented itself into a bizarre megacity where even ATMs can dispense solid gold. You've probably marveled at artificial islands that defy the ocean itself, or a metro system that looks like it came straight out of a Hollywood sci-fi movie. Dubai is a symbol of limitless ambition, no one denies that. But have you ever wondered, is all of this glitter actually sustainable? Or are we witnessing a giant with feet of clay that is starting to crack? When million-dollar supercars are left to rust under the scorching sun, and ghost mega-projects sit motionless like phantoms in the desert, it seems the collapse may be closer than they want us to know. Brace yourself, because today, we're going to uncover the dark side behind that luxurious glow. And things are spiraling further out of control. Try to imagine a morning at Dubai International Airport. You don't see crowds rushing to check in instead. You witness a scene that would make anyone who has spent a lifetime working and saving feel a tightness in their chest. Under the blistering desert sun, thousands of Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and Bentleys sit motionless, covered in a thick layer of sand, so heavy you could write your name on it. This isn't a luxury car dealership waiting for customers, it's a graveyard of hollow dreams. Many of these cars still have the keys left in the ignition, as if their owners had just stepped out to buy a newspaper and never came back. But the truth is far more bitter. In the States, we understand the value of effort and financial responsibility. If a business struggles, it can be restructured. If an individual falls on hard times, there are legal systems to help them get back on their feet. But in this place that calls itself the city of the future, they seem to operate on a medieval mindset. In Dubai, debt is not a civil matter, it is a criminal offense. Failing to repay means a direct ticket to prison. So when big shots or self-made millionaires see their empires starting to shake, they don't choose to face it, they choose to run. They drive these $100,000 machines to the airport, abandon the keys, and take the earliest flight out of the country with nothing but the clothes on their backs. Perhaps what hits you the hardest isn't the valuable metal rusting away, but the notes left on the dashboards. A short apology, a line that says "I'm sorry," or even a desperate message to their families. These are the last testaments of a middle and upper class, crushed by an outdated legal system, hiding behind gleaming glass skyscrapers. Ironically, Dubai has turned this very tragedy into a tourism niche. They leave those cars to decay, so tourists can come photograph the decline. A business model built on human ruin, you see. It feels worlds apart from the sustainability of brands we trust, like Ford or General Motors. Names that have endured through ups and downs thanks to real value, rather than flashy marketing tactics. How far can a society really go when success is built on sand, and failure is punished with chains instead of compassion? Maybe that pile of luxury scrap metal is the most expensive warning for anyone still believing in illusions without a foundation. Do you think it's time we take a closer look at what this so-called paradise really is? It sounds almost poetic. A garden with more than 50 million flowers blooming across roughly 775,000 square feet, which is about 18 acres. That's huge, right? You might think we're talking about some kind of fairy tale garden. This place is real, and it has a fitting name, Miracle Garden. But perhaps the real miracle here is how millions of petals are kept from being scorched under the 120-degree Gulf heat. The answer lies in millions of liters of water every single day. To get that amount, Dubai has to run massive desalination plants, an industry that consumes staggering amounts of energy, and pumps so much carbon into the atmosphere that even the strictest standards at rough when manufacturing trucks would have to tip their hat in defeat. It's ironic that people built a giant Airbus, a 380 made entirely of fresh flowers just to set a Guinness World Record, while in reality, every passing hour of maintaining that beauty is draining the region's precious resources. Is it fair that we are burning the future just to trade for a few vibrant souvenir photos in the moment? And if that garden isn't enough to make you think, look out to the sea, where artificial islands like Palm Jumeirah or the World sit. On paper, they are engineering masterpieces, but beneath the surface, it seems to be a silent tragedy. To create patches of land for villas priced up to $2 billion, hundreds of millions of cubic meters of sand and rock were dumped, unintentionally crushing natural coral reefs that took centuries to form. It appears ocean currents have been permanently altered, creating stagnant waters and gradually killing the local marine ecosystem. Do you notice the strange contrast? Above are infinity pools facing the horizon, while below lies environmental destruction. It is far from the way sustainable conservation projects in the United States usually try to operate. Dubai seems to be playing a high-stakes gamble with Mother Nature. They build fragile islands, and hope pumps and technology will keep them from being swallowed by the sea. But for those who have witnessed the ups and downs of time, we all know nature always finds a way to reclaim what belongs to it. How long will these symbols of extreme wealth last? Or are they simply massive ecological debts that future generations will have to bear? Perhaps when the layer of gold wears off, what remains is just a reminder of human arrogance in the face of the planet's limits. What do you think, are these projects worth the price that nature is paying? Have you ever wondered what a city looks like when as much as 88% of its population is made up of temporary residents? That's a staggering number. Nearly 9 out of 10 people you meet on the streets have no citizenship, no permanent residency, and no promise of a future. In the United States, we take pride in communities where multiple generations live together, where pickup trucks have become part of a family legacy. But in Dubai, everything seems like just a stopover. Workers from India, Pakistan, or Egypt carry this entire city on their shoulders. Yet in return, they are given only a temporary existence. One small mistake, one job loss, and they can be deported immediately. Can a place truly be called a city if it lacks the soul built over generations, or is it just a massive hotel where both visitors and workers are waiting for their checkout day? Even their metro system, a 90-kilometer, driverless technological marvel, seems to tell a story of separation. It's clean, it's modern, perhaps enough to make New York's subway system jealous. But look at how the train cars are divided. There's a gold class for those willing to pay double for privacy and luxury, and the rest for the silent labor force. It doesn't just feel like transportation. It feels like a moving symbol showing that your place in this society depends entirely on your passport and your bank balance. There's a bitter irony in the fact that the very people who sweat to build these wonders often have to live in outskirts housing, where the bright metro lights are just a distant glow on the horizon. They keep the air conditioners running. They wipe the desert dust off the glass panels of the Burj Khalifa, yet they don't have an official seat at the table of this city's future. The question is, how long can a community last if the people who build it are never allowed to call it home? When workers have no sense of belonging, when identity is just something borrowed from all over the world, can this mirage withstand the headwinds of the global economy? What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. What happens when the most extravagant party in the world suddenly runs out of alcohol and the staff starts cleaning up while you're still holding your glass? Dubai seems to be at exactly that moment. After decades of convincing itself it was a permanent magnet, economic reality is beginning to knock with a rhythm that's anything but cheerful. For those of us who have witnessed market ups and downs since the 80s, the concept of a bubble is nothing new. From the housing boom in Florida to the far-fetched promises of dot-com companies, history has taught us this. When cheap money stops flowing, those swimming naked get exposed. Dubai, for all its glitter, may be no exception. For years, the promise of a tax-free paradise pulled thousands of businesses and streams of capital into this desert. But look at what happened in June 2023. For the first time in its history, it imposed a 9% corporate tax. Perhaps this is a quiet admission that unrealistic projects can no longer sustain themselves on belief alone. When you start charging guests you once invited to stay for free, that's when you know the budget is in trouble. The most symbolic moment may still lie in the tallest tower in the world. Do you remember it was once called Burj Dubai? Then the 2008 crisis hit, and the name disappeared overnight, replaced by Burj Khalifa, named after the leader of neighboring Abu Dhabi. That wasn't just a rebranding, it was a massive bailout check to keep Dubai's pride from going bankrupt. It reminds us that behind the gleaming glass and steel, Dubai's existence seems to depend heavily on someone else's wallet. And let's talk about black gold. The world is changing faster than ever. As major corporations like ExxonMobil and Chevron begin shifting toward renewable energy, and Tesla's electric vehicles become increasingly common on American roads, the very foundation that fueled Dubai's rise is starting to shake. Estimates suggest the Emirates have lost the capacity to produce about 1 million barrels of oil per day due to underinvestment. When the main engine of the economy starts to sputter, mega projects like Dubai Land, once expected to be twice the size of Disney World with a $64 billion budget, now look like graveyards of broken promises. Many people may still hope for a soft landing, but reality is rarely that gentle. With massive debt requiring constant interest payments and a luxury real estate market showing signs of saturation, Dubai seems to be running a marathon on quicksand. Can it restructure and survive like IBM did during its crises? Or are we about to witness one of the biggest bubble bursts of the 21st century? We'll let you make your own predictions. Let us ask you this. How much of its soul can a country trade away in exchange for numbers flashing on Wall Street screens? It's hard to say, right? Yet in Dubai, the answer seems to be everything. If you're someone who values tradition and consistency, the very things that built iconic brands like John Deere, you might find it absurd how Dubai is struggling to rediscover its own identity. Back in 2022, in a desperate attempt to align with Western capital flows, the city did something unprecedented in Islamic history. It changed its weekend from the traditional Thursday and Friday to Saturday and Sunday. Friday, the holiest day of the week for Muslims, is now shortened to accommodate global stock trading hours. Do you see the irony? A nation that prides itself on a 1,000-year heritage is willing to bend even its faith just to avoid missing a few trading hours in New York or London. Is that the flexibility of a modern economy? Or proof that Dubai is essentially just a branch office of the global market disguised as a country? But the cracks in identity don't stop at the work week. Take the Dubai frame, a 150-meter-tall, gold-clad structure promoted as the largest picture frame in the world, connecting past and future. Yet behind its dazzling appearance lies a story of professional ethics that would make any honest business person raise an eyebrow. Architect Fernando Donis, the winner of the international design competition, has accused the city of simply borrowing his idea and building it without proper contract or recognition. In the United States, we understand that intellectual property is the foundation of innovation. That's why names like Apple and Microsoft can dominate the world. But here, it seems there's a belief that if you put enough gold on the surface, issues of copyright and architectural ethics will simply disappear. A hollow $150 million structure rises, while basic infrastructure and housing needs remain stuck on long waiting lists. Is that their definition of success? When you stand on the glass floor of that frame and look down, you're not just seeing a city rising. Perhaps you're looking at a hollow attempt to frame a perfect image, while its real structure trembles from a lack of core values. Can a place that cannot even preserve its own traditions and disregards others' intellectual achievements maintain its admirable status for much longer? We probably all know the answer. If you believe in the philosophy of sustainable construction, the kind that built the durability of Caterpillar machines, or the legendary production lines of Ford, then the infrastructure story here might make you laugh, bitterly. Imagine one of the most modern megacities in the world, where up until 2015, mail carriers still couldn't find your house because the city had no official address system. To receive a package, you had to give directions like, the house next to the White Mosque, with the slightly leaning tree. It sounds like a joke, but it's actually a symptom of a serious disease: blind growth. People were so busy putting up flashy icons at such speed that maps couldn't keep up, while drainage systems seemed to be forgotten on the priority list. Did you know that even for the tallest tower in the world, there was a time when lines of tanker trucks had to queue up every day just to haul away waste because the sewage system couldn't handle the load? That's the result of a build first, fix later philosophy. A risky gamble that any seasoned infrastructure engineer in the United States would tell you is a recipe for disaster. In states like Ohio or Pennsylvania, we understand that infrastructure is the backbone, the part that must be solid before anything is built on top. But in Dubai, infrastructure seems to be playing catch-up behind unrealistic dreams. When oil money and investment funds were still flowing, they could use cash to cover these gaps. But when the tap starts to dry up, these glass and steel giants will quickly turn into maintenance burdens that can't be sustained. The cost of keeping these palaces from being consumed by sand and decay is astronomical. How long can these symbols stand when the infrastructure beneath them still carries unresolved cracks? Perhaps building an empire while ignoring the sewer system is like trying to drive a polished race car without brakes. Do you see the irony in people staring at the stars while forgetting their feet are standing on ground that was never properly prepared? Is this modernization, or just a dazzling infrastructure trap that Dubai has set for itself? You probably already have your own answer. When big names like ExxonMobil and Chevron, once the giants supporting the Gulf's prosperity, begin shifting billions of dollars into green energy and carbon capture technology, it's not just a passing trend. It's a signal of retreat. Estimates suggest the Emirates have lost the ability to produce about 1 million barrels of oil per day simply due to a lack of reinvestment in aging oil fields. As these giants start looking elsewhere, Dubai's magnet seems to be losing its pull. While Dubai keeps building skyscrapers to showcase its power, the world it's trying to impress is quietly changing the rules of the game. Electric vehicles, from Tesla to Ford's new electric trucks, aren't just tech toys, they're hammers striking at the foundation of an oil-based economy. Dubai is in a race against time to find alternative revenue sources. But look at reality. How many malls or artificial islands can you build to make up for the loss of millions of barrels of oil per day? When the old engine starts to stall, trying to maintain the shine with borrowed money seems like nothing more than a way to prolong the inevitable. Perhaps we are witnessing a desperate attempt to keep the neon lights from going out before the economy finds a new battery. But for those who have lived through enough market cycles, we all know this. When the core resource changes, those who are slow to adapt usually pay a very high price. Do you think Dubai can reinvent its economy in time? Or are these the final labored breaths of a fading era of black gold? Maybe the answer lies in the very balance sheets they're trying to hide beneath a gold-plated surface. Take a look at these images one last time, but do it with a mind that's finally cleared of the marketing fog. That eerie silence echoing through the halls of Dubai International Airport, it isn't just a temporary hiccup in the flight schedule. What you're hearing is the death knell for its status as a global hub. For years, we were told this was the new heartbeat of the world. But as the Iron Birds stop landing, you start to realize that without constant motion, Dubai is little more than a forgotten rest stop lost in a sea of scorching sand. It's a bit like watching a classic Porsche left to rot in a field. You remember the prestige it once held, but now you only see the rust. The five-star hotels aren't closing because they ran out of rooms. They're closing because the entire luxury at all costs model has finally fallen out of sync with reality. Let's be honest. Does the world really crave more gilded waiting lounges and cookie-cutter service that feels as hollow as a plastic trophy? It seems people are finally fleeing from a brand of luxury that has become tiresome and soulless. It reminds me of those get-rich-quick schemes from the ADS, plenty of flash, but zero substance to back it up when the bills come due. And what about the Burj Khalifa? Once the ultimate trophy of human ambition, it now stands there like a monument to isolation. A symbol only carries weight as long as people still yearn to reach it. But with occupancy rates flickering and the prestige of the address fading faster than a cheap suit, it's losing its aspirational value. When a dream shatters this spectacularly, you aren't left with a masterpiece. You're left with a gigantic metal skeleton, strung and lifeless under a relentless sun that doesn't care about your net worth. If you think the Burj Khalifa is the only landmark of isolation on land, then look out past the coastline to witness one of the most expensive archaeological disasters of the modern era, the World Islands. Imagine an ambitious project featuring 300 artificial islands, meticulously arranged to replicate the map of the world, where billionaires could proudly claim to own all of England or have a private estate in North America. However, a grim reality is steadily turning this $14 billion dream into a costly lesson about human arrogance in the face of Mother Nature. Do you see the bitter irony in how these miniature nations, once marketed as the pinnacle of luxury, are now nothing more than desolate mounds of sand being silently swallowed by the ocean waves every day? Real-world geological reports have pointed to a harsh truth. The foundations of these islands are showing signs of severe erosion and are gradually sinking to the bottom of the Gulf. It's like pouring all your hard-earned assets into ordering a high-end luxury yacht from the most prestigious brands, only to realize with shock upon launching that it is a bottomless ship. All in all, we aren't just looking at a financial crisis here. We are witnessing the total collapse of an idea. It's the moment the mirror finally cracks, and that shimmering image of a desert paradise vanishes forever. What's left behind is a reality far grittier and more unforgiving than anything you'll see in a glossy travel brochure. You've lived through enough cycles to know a bubble when you see one. So tell me, as the dust settles on this crystal empire, do you see a future here, or just the world's most expensive cautionary tale? In the end, after peeling back every layer of solid gold and dazzling Guinness records, what's actually left behind? Perhaps it's time we face the truth head-on. Dubai doesn't really operate like a city or a country in the traditional sense we've come to trust. It's more like a giant startup in the desert, a business model built on constant growth and borrowed capital from the future. We're standing in front of a question bigger than the height of the Burj Khalifa. What you're seeing, is it the final brilliant rise of a glass empire before it shatters, or is it a costly warning to the world about the price of unsustainable development? The graveyards of supercars and the islands slowly sinking into the ocean aren't just wasted assets, they're visible cracks in an illusion that fades as the sun climbs higher. After everything, when the neon lights go out and the roar of supercars becomes nothing more than a distant echo in the desert wind, Real value will always be the last thing standing. What about you? If you had to choose for your own future or the next generation, would you pick a modest home on solid ground or a dazzling golden palace built on sinking soil? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below.